I must say it's always a pleasure hosting this program, and it's always a pleasure interfacing with the audience across the world. Now, I want to first of all acknowledge the audience from across the world. Over the last few days, I published about 3 to 4 of my books, and I see we have hundreds of subscribers who are subscribing to those books. So I want to thank you from the depths of my heart for finding interest in the books that I have recently published. I had a few persons who are reaching out to me in terms of gathering more information on the content, and I just want to thank you, the viewers from across the world who are reaching out. Today, we're going to be having a pretty interesting conversation. We are going to be talking about leaders' blind spot. Now, do leaders have blind spots? And I want to be the first to say that all leaders have blind spot, and all leaders have blind spot that is causing your business billions of dollars. And I believe that leaders they should strive to become proactive leaders. Why? Because proactive leaders has 3 essential characteristics. Proactive leaders, they think ahead. Proactive leaders, they see beyond problems. Proactive leaders master informed action and master targeted results. But guess what? Even with this degree of mastery, you can do it on your own. Team dynamics play a very pivotal role in helping you to fill those blind spots. It takes a team to help you eliminate blind spot that can cause your business billions of dollars in annual revenue. Not just any team, you need the right team. That means that you must have a strategic recruitment, selection, placement, and climatization process as you focus on eliminating the blind spot from the organization that is causing you billions of dollars in annual revenue. Now, to join me in today's conversation, I have 2 dynamic personalities in studio today, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome them as my team players, helping me to oversee or overcome some of my blind spot as we go into today's program. I have Frank, and Frank, he is an economist by profession, and he is a leader by practice. He's very passionate about leadership, and he's going to be giving us his perspective on leaders' blind spot. I also have Shivani Sinarang, and Shivani Sinarang, she is a project management practitioner. She lives and breathes project management, which I believe is essential and vital for the growth of every business. And of course, she will be talking to us from her perspective on leaders in project management and possibly blind spots that she have experienced with them. With that being said, I want to welcome you guys to today's program. How was your weekend? You're mute.
Good. Mhm.
Good. It was good. It's
Good.
good.
This is good. Awesome. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. All right. With that being said, I want to talk a little bit about blind spot so as to give some further foundation for today's topic. And then I just open up the floor for discussion. I'd mentioned that leadership, team dynamics plays a very important role in helping leaders to overcome the many, many blind spots that research is showing that leaders have. Now, it takes a team to eliminate blind spot or at least significantly reduce that. And we're talking here about blind spot that can cause your business billions of dollars in annual revenue. It is easy to put a team together, but it's very tough to put the right team together because this here is not just putting a team together, is ensuring that you have the right team players on board, the right vision, the right motivation, the right motive to move that vision forward. And that also requires a lot of time to select those personnel, to go through that recruitment process, selection process, placement, and the acclimatization. It takes a lot of time to fully execute in this. But let me also give another example. I'll break down the example by looking at this scenario. Now, let us assume that you are a black belt specialist. You have your dojo, you have your sensei, but being a black belt means that you it's only your only first dan. You still have, 9 more dans to go to really evolve to the highest level as a martial arts specialist. But as a first dan martial arts specialist, you see yourself as not needing your sensei, all right, because you are a first dan black belt specialist, and because of this, you think that you don't need your sensei. That could be the biggest mistake that you're making, and I'm going to explain why. The clever black belt first dan specialist, he knows the importance of having his sensei on board, because guess what? His sensei is his mentor, his sensei is his coach, his sensei is his sponsor, his sensei is part of his community. Now, let me explain what the sensei is. Whenever you enter into a dojo, the sensei is the head personality in that dojo. He is the master of the martial arts, all right? And he has years and years and years of experience in doing practicing martial arts. I mean, my martial arts specialist, I don't know, that guy is a genius. I mean, he knows the kata, not from front to the beginning to the end. He knows it from the end to the beginning. He can reverse the whole process. Whenever you do something wrong, he figures you out. He sees it and he tells you exactly what's going wrong. And the sensei brings that kind of experience to the playing ground, to the table, and they really helped you to find and your the blind spot. The sensei helps you to see the blind spot, to know the blind spot, and to eliminate your blind spots. Now, are you the first dan black belt ninja in business that think that you do not need your sensei or your dojo? And I want to repeat this. Are you the first dan black belt ninja in business that believes that you do not need your sensei and your dojo? In this particular case, Frank might be the good sensei. Shivani might be the good sensei because they have been in this domain for quite a number of years. When you are that first dan black belt ninja, you think you don't need your sensei. You might be setting yourself up for the biggest tragedy in business. That decision can cost you billions of dollars in annual revenue. So I trust I would have explained here that although you might be a great leader, first dan, you still have 9 more dans to go to reach the peak of your development. And even when you reach there, the possibility exists. You still need that third eye. You still need that community to help you to get techniques right. So that concludes the point that I wanted to make. All leaders I've seen from the research that we are doing now, they have blind spot. And I'm going to be writing a new book titled Blind Spot, Leaders Blind Spot. So I'm going to open up the conversation now so my team can chime in. And I want to start with Frank. What are your thoughts in these regards, Frank? I mean, you have been in the field of leadership for quite a number of years. Um, can you relate to the topic?
Very, very much so. Thanks, Gary, and good morning, everyone. Uh, um, you were right when you said that all leaders have like blind spots. Every one of us have blind spots. Robert Bruce Shaw He's the author of Leadership Blind Spots. And he said that blind spots are unrecognized weaknesses or threats that can hinder a leader's success. It's weaknesses that we know about that aren't likely to derail us from our goals. However, those weaknesses that we don't know are the dangerous ones. Personally, as a leader, I've learned from Shaw and Karen Blakely. They're also experts on the topic. And one of the most common causes of leadership blind spot is pride that's bordering on arrogance. And this arrogance will will manifest itself in basically three ways. The first one is overconfidence. Excuse me. You see, willful blind spots occur when people are overconfident. For instance, some leaders only want to read reports and data that will support their views. And this can be bad for an organization because a leader needs to be able to comprehend issues from all viewpoints. And confidence typically grows with whatever successes you would have had in your past. And that can lead to overusing the formula that provided results, thus creating a blind spot or blind spots on alternative solutions for the same goal. So that's how overconfidence will affect you. Another one is ultra positivity. Overly positive can also create blind spots. So when you have such a euphoric stance about something, you as a leader will not be able to see when and why other people disagree with your ideas. The common trap is that the great leaders will commonly champion and push ideas that go against the grain. You know, we would not recognize names as Ford, Gates, Jobs, or Musk. No first names are required to know who I'm speaking about. But if they did not fight with a fierce commitment to their ideas and vision, they might have been just ordinary people. And from my perspective, positivity is essential to drive a vision. It's essential to inspire and overcome problems. But still, we must also build these checks into our processes and methods in order to identify those elements that can present risks and other immediate threats. We have to remember that a leader's job is ensuring weaknesses and risks are taken care of long before they create problems. The third one is power. Power or perceived power that is related to a position or title can create a level of ultra confidence and in many cases a false perception that others expect a person with a title to solve unilaterally. And that mistaken perception, which itself is a blind spot, can create other blind spots by shutting out different perspective and potential solutions. Power related blind spots can be exacerbated in times of crisis when immediate action is expected and required. How do you identify and fix your blind spots? Whether you're the leader of an organization or a leader of yourself, you will need to understand the tools that can help you identify your blind spots. And I'll come back and give you a few of those tools that can help you to identify whatever blind spots you have. Over to you, Gary.
All right, great share, Frank. And I'm happy that you referenced the author. Can you give me back the name of the author for Blind Spot? You're mute.
Robert Shaw.
Oh, Robert Shaw. Got you.
Robert
Got
Shaw.
you. All right. So I'm happy to know that I'm not the first person or the only person being thinking about black spot.
We'll
Well,
think about it in a different way.
it's Robert Shaw. It's Robert Shaw and also Karen Blakely. So yes,
Right.
Shivani, a woman also
Yeah.
wrote on.
But like, you know what I was going to talk about now. That's why you meant you figured me out.
All right, Shabadi. I'm excited to hear your response to to today's talking points. All to you.
So in projects, Gary, you have to think about leadership. Whether you're in projects, operations, once you in managing, you know, you look at leadership. You have to look at leadership. And I know Frank was speaking about strengths, and different weaknesses. But I just want to throw out something, how a woman would lead and how a man would lead, right? Um, it's a kind of hot topic, right? So now, what is said always, men would lead in a way that is more command and control, right? Whereas women would lead more by becoming more democratic and getting the ideas from everybody and then trying to form a better solution. So you have to know yourself. You have to know if this is really true. Now, I would deal with both men and women quite a lot in leadership. So at times, I think that's just a stigma, right? I mean, yes, you'll have that data from a long, long time. And, that's the male mindset and how you lead and the woman mindset and how you lead. But I myself, I feel sometimes I change it up all the time. I might say, okay, this is just what we have to do, and we do it, right? Whereas I might I might be more democratic depending on the situation. But then, it's something to think about if this is really influencing how we lead. Meaning, if you're a male leader, you are more command and control. If you're a woman leader, you are more thinking about getting the ideas from everybody and trying to get everybody's opinion before you make the proper decision, right? More ideation. uh, we should do some more data collection on that, right? I'm speaking here and I'm thinking about somebody, and he's definitely command and control and leadership, right? I'm thinking about somebody else. She is definitely the ideation, and want to bring everybody's opinion into the mix. So it's food for thought, really and truly, in how people lead. Of course, those things can change. I would always say, I will never say that this is the way that you'll be all the time, because that's the point of blind spots too. You have to know what is missing and then see what will work. For me, I would look at situational leadership. That's more for me, situational leadership. And you put in different environments, you look at different persons, culture, environments, and you will have to change your leadership style in order to get the job done as well, for good success. And I think that is a blind spot, that is something that is lacking quite a lot when we do not understand really that your style may not work in every situation, may not work in every situation. So you have now to really analyze the people, what the project is, what is the outcome. Politics may play a very, very big role in your organization with the project that you're running. So all of these things, all of these factors. What about the maturity level of the team? So for me, I have seen people will fail when they do not understand blind spots. They're blind to certain things. They believe that this is the best way, It's egotistical also, right? Egotistical. But I love to talk about the male way of leadership and the female way of leadership. Things would change, especially with technology. Technology is changing. So we would see probably the next generation to come. If we see the female would have been like this or the male would have been like that, we see that it is changing as well, because technology will change it, tech and how things are done. So for me, it's such a it this if you don't understand this really, really and work it, you're going to fail. You're going to fail your whole project, and you'll be sitting down now, Gary, and thinking, but I'm the best project manager, I really could do this thing. I'm the engineer, I'm the facilities manager. I have over 30 years of experience. And you're telling me a small project like this has failed? Why? You have to analyze, and is what you were saying. We get ahead of ourselves. We think we are the best at everything, right? And we don't realize that we have to sit down and listen. We have to sit down and listen. Gary, so far, those are some of my points.
Shivani, you're correct. I think sitting at that boardroom with an open mind is so vital to helping to eliminate blind spot within that project. You and Frank, you mentioned a number of important points. You just talk about maturity level of team, that plays a role. You talk about ego, that plays a big, 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 big role. Organization politics that might be slanted in a particular way. And I want to add simply there, socialization. In my experience, I've seen that organizations socialize their membership to think in a particular way.
Yeah.
And that particular way is the normal way. Nothing, deviates from that social norms. While that is important, and it may serve their interest, it's another issue. And it's a deep subject matter, and over a period of time, we're going to go deeper into that. What I want to do, I want to talk briefly here now about the leader and what I call organization leadership. And there are six important concepts to take away here. I'm not going to go into all of six of them. When you get the book, you will be able to do that deep dive into this. But in the context of leadership and organizational leadership, the sixth concept that I want you to take away is what we call the organization chart. I mentioned that the right team is going to help to eliminate blind spot that is causing the business billions of dollars in annual revenue. So I begin by looking at the organization chart, and I'll speak about this one for today. The second is the organization culture. If you don't have an organization chart, believe me, you have blind spot, because even with the organization chart, though many organizations, you still have the blind spot. Second is the organization culture. Every organization should have a very strong culture. The culture is part of personal branding. The culture is part of corporate branding, and that needs to be forefront within the organization. The third concept that I want to table here is the organization team dynamics. I mentioned that team is very important. You may have the chart, you may have the culture, but it takes the human resource within the organization to actualize that culture, to actualize the organization chart. So having the right team dynamics is so, so important. The fourth concept that I want to table here is the organization or the business cash flow projection. In this context, we are talking business. And for that business, you need to have what we are calling the cash flow projection. It tells you where you're going. And not having this, it means that you may have a lot of blind spot, because you may be in business, but guess what? You want a cash flow, but guess what? You don't know how much is your potential cash flow annually, because you don't know your market size, you don't know your density, you don't know your dispersion. That is multiple blind spot that I would have already established. So you need to have this. The fifth concept that you need to focus on is what we're going to call the organization cash flow game plan. In my experience, I've seen that many leaders in business, you have young leaders, you have what is known as the cash flow projection. You have your 5-year cash flow projection, but you don't have a game plan. All right. The game plan is say that this is the game plan in project management context is your WBS. And your WBS is your work breakdown structure. It tell you a step-by-step approach that you're going to be using to optimize cash flow for that business. Having your cash flow projection is one good thing, but you need to have the breakdown of the methodology and the systems and the strategy that you're going to be using to cash flow and the operation. In this context, you need it. If you don't have it, it represents a blind spot in corporate leadership. And the sixth and last concept that I'm going to briefly look at here is what I call the organization project execution unit. All right, you can know all of the above, but do you have a unit that is just built out to execute on the project activities? That's all they're focusing on, execution, because again, you may have good thoughts and good ideas and good plans, but then you fail when it comes to having your execution unit. And that's vital. If you don't have this, it's another blind spot. It's another reasons why, again, we have 20.8% of business startup fail in the first year, 40% of business startup fail in the second year, and 49.9% of business startup fail by year 3. The objective that we are doing, what we are doing here, is to provide business leaders with a frame of reference, a context of information that will help to reverse the failure rate that we are seeing in business. All right, so what I want to do now is just to expand a little bit on the very first concept that we talk about. I talk about leadership and organization. I talk about leaders and organization leadership. And the very first concept that I looked at there was the organization chart. Now, to run an organization successfully, the factors of production comes into play. And the factors of production, I look at it in terms of the human resource needs, the capital resource needs, and the technical resource needs. I want to look very briefly at human resource needs. Now, your human resource specialists, do they have blind spots as they go through the recruitment, the selection, the placement, the climatization of the workforce? I want to push one step further, because the human resource specialists, once they're trained to function effectively within the organization, they are not only affecting the workforce, but they're affecting the entire ecosystem of that organization. Because the way the staff are trained to interpret the culture is going to translate into how the public feel about your business, customer relation. But let me go a little deep into this. I talked about the fact that every organization should be built to have 4 points of impact. All right? Perhaps if you're not seeing this, there may be a blind spot. The HR or human resource specialist, you are responsible for making impact with your workforce and your team dynamic. All right? You want to be certain that whatever systems you have in place, it is designed to impact the workforce, not in an accidental manner, but in an intentional manner. That means you need to understand your programs and your systems and your processes. You need to understand it. They need to be tested. You need to have tangible results so as to be able to predict the outcome that you want to attain. It takes time to do all of this, unless you have systems that are working in that regards already. You want to also have your systems in place to impact your clientele base. All right. Several department heads and several departments is going to impact your clientele base. Public relation is going to have an impact on your clientele base. Marketing is going to have an impact on your clientele base. Customer service representative are going to have an impact on your customer base. Do you have a well-designed oil machine that is so set up to impact your ideal client, because the inability to build system that is going to help you to achieve impact with the ideal client is going to undermine the very potential of that business to cash flow. And this need not be accidental. This has to be intentional. So you need to take the time to recognize, do I have blind spot here? If it is accidental, you have a whole lot of blind spot here. Even when you are intentional, you have intentional designs, there may be blind spots that exist. So let me quickly go through this because I can take the rest of the day as expanding on this. All right. So you want to impact your team dynamics. You want to impact your clientele base or potential clientele base. You want to impact the public. Why you want to impact the public, the general public too? Because you have influential people in the public that can influence persons to support your brand or not support your brand. They're influential people in society. Do you want to impact them? All right. Are you being incidental about this, or are you being intentional about this? Is this a blind spot? So what I'm doing, I'm going through a whole host of blind spot. So you can say you didn't know some of the blind spot that is perhaps holding your business from optimizing its success. And the last point of impact that I'm going to talk about here is, how are you building your brand to impact the business cash flow? Now, the first three, if you do them and do them well, they will have positive impact on the business cash flow. But in our context, we go deeper than this. We go much deeper than this. In our context, we talk about how do you leverage excess liquidity into income producing assets, into performing assets. But I'm going to leave some of that for later on. Now, I've pointed out a number of blind spots as it relates to the human resource specialist. Now, just let me go a little deeper into this, and I'm going to finish this point shortly. Part of the role of that HR specialist, human resource specialist, is to nurture highly motivated workforce. But are you really in that position of strength to nurture highly motivated workforce? What are those factors that should be considered when you are desirous of nurturing a highly motivated workforce? In my book, I clearly stated that people never grow beyond their sense of self. It's impossible. It's practically impossible. It doesn't matter what you do, what you think, or what you believe. So since we have come to the realization that people cannot rise beyond their sense of self, are we incorporating Abraham Maslow thesis into the whole equation of nurturing the highly motivated workforce? Abraham Maslow introduced self-actualization. What I have introduced in our context is blanket workplace self-actualization, where we look at the entire human resource ecosystem within the organization, and we are saying to you, do you have a human culture, a human sustainable development culture that is focusing on blanket workplace self-actualization? Perhaps in the absence of this, guess what? There are blind spots within your organization, because you are not going to get optimum performance. You're not going to get the high performance that you so desire to drive the cash flow optimization of your business. It's not going to happen. So let me push another step further. The human resource specialists, they're also responsible for reducing absenteeism. All right. In many organizations that I'm interfacing with, guess what? They have massive absenteeism. And the next one is rapid turnover. Absenteeism hurts the cash flow potential of the organization, especially when key human resources are absent from the organization. But as a leader, Are you able to clearly identify the reasons you're getting absenteeism, or is that a blind spot? Because persons are not necessarily absent because they're sick or they're ill. They're absent because they just want a break. And why they want a break? Because your culture may not be reflected uh, in their image and liking. Why so? Is that a blind spot that can be tweaked and can be fixed so as to incorporate now or to tweak the culture of the organization in such a way that everyone now, they're not high performers, but you have the highly motivated workforce that just can't wait for the weekend to pass to get out to work as Monday to be part of your business ecosystem. Is that a blind spot? So I just want to throw this out and leave that there for a little bit. There's so much more to get into here. I haven't touched on the technical resource need and the capital resource need to show blind spot that we are seeing. And all of this is going to be in the new book and so much more that I'm going to be focusing on. So I'm going to come right back to Frank. Frank, all to you, and then to Shravani. You're mute, Frank.
Thank you, Gary. I wanted from the blind spots that I spoke earlier, which
Mhm.
overconfidence, ultra positivity, and power. I just want to give a little bit of solution to um, how to identify and fix those blind spots. Because whether you're the leader of the organization or of yourself, one needs to understand the tools that can identify these blind spots. And the first one is always audit your past mistakes. The most obvious method to help you discover blind spots. And then you look for recurring weaknesses. And according to Shaw, mistakes show us where we lack knowledge, where we lack the competence, where we lack the understanding. It's my belief, however, that people can compensate for these missteps once they have a well-built team. And the best way to audit a situation is to create formal and informal feedback channels. Um, as a leader, what would I have done? I've been able to find these channels of success. I had to accept vulnerability, allow myself to be approachable, and others to feel free to provide openness into feedback. But sometimes you can do it even without asking for it. The other thing is lead from the front, lead from the center, lead from the back. Because you see, awareness alone isn't sufficient to get rid of blind spots. One has got to make a conscious effort to change. A great leader are those who are willing to adapt, those who are willing to lead from all ends, from the front, from the center, from the back, from the top, from the middle, from the bottom. And to do this, we have to establish the direction you want to keep to go from the front. Then guide others to explore the ideas, to explore the concepts about the development vulnerabilities with the various tools, such as design thinking. And this allows you to lead from the center and finally be prepared to step back. Listen, let someone else take the lead when something significant surfaces, and that's leading from the back. The third one is to develop an open culture. Being successful in auditing mistakes and allowing others to take the lead requires an open culture where people are not afraid of being vulnerable, not afraid of exploring or experimenting, most importantly, not afraid of making mistakes. Achieving the 3 points will not happen overnight. And it will not happen by merely communicating desire for it to happen. Open culture requires leadership by example, and that starts by exposing your vulnerability, exposing your weakness. It also requires a change in management style in order to mitigate the risks and the impact of mistakes. The best approach to creating an open culture is reducing review cycles and allowing full autonomy among employees during a review period. The key here is to define your employees' tasks and review cycles based on the potential impact of mistakes. The idea is to create an environment for successful mistakes. Successful mistakes. In other words, you want to create an environment that can provide valuable learning and insight that will help improve the next attempts. And placing the importance of learning and insight over the setback of a mistake. It can completely change a team's approach to taking measured risk. Measured is a critical word. Projects and tasks need to be designed with an acceptable worst case scenario that will ultimately help educate the team. And once the stigma of mistakes is eliminated, then it will become easier for people to step up, easier for them to voice new ideas and accept feedback as a learning opportunity instead of criticism. And this is how you create an open culture. And in turn, begin leading from behind to overcome any blind spots you find along the way. Over to you, Gary.
All right. Thanks for that share, Frank. Um, I do believe that there is merit in the recommendations that you have just tabled. I do believe that, as a leader who lead from the front, the center, and the back, he's given an opportunity to be observant in how the process is working. And probably the leader with a team, they can definitely, from the observation, they can now deduct strengths and weaknesses and then find a strategic approach to eliminate them.
This is
What
what
I'm about to go ahead.
Gary, this is what John Maxwell called a 360-degree leadership.
Awesome. Awesome. What I'm about to say is going to also go deep into some of what you're talking about, because at the end of the day, we want to be able to come close to eliminating blind spot. If we can eliminate all, that's another story, another discussion for us to have as time progresses. But I'm looking at the organization chart, and I'm looking at one of the factors of production, which is the technical resource needs. In this context, I'm going to look at the human technical skills and how human technical skills plays directly upon the whole concept of blind spot and reducing or eliminating blind spot. One of the essential human skills that we need for survival and having that competitive advantage in business is, I'm going to call it research. What research does, it allows you to collect sensitive data. It allows you to analyze sensitive data. It allows you to apply sensitive data, and it allows you to mitigate sensitive data. Now, if you're doing business and you don't have data, you have a whole lot of blind spots. And I'm going to go deeper into this to just help the audience to understand perhaps another reason why your business is going to fail. So when we talk about collecting data, and I can look at this from two different standpoints. I can look at it from collecting data from the organization perspective, and you need to collect that type of data. Or I can look at this from the perspective of collecting data from the external market forces. I'm going to look at the external market forces for now. Now, the data that you want to collect, the external data that you want to collect, you want to spend time collecting data about your ideal client. Because if you do not understand your ideal client, you have blind spots. You don't understand what are their needs and their wants and their expectations. You have blind spots. You're shooting in the dark. And that's not how you do business. To eliminate those blind spots, you need to do the research, you need to collect the data, And the type of data that we're talking about here, I'm going to look at a high level overview here, is demographic data. What is demographic data? Keep following this program and we will expand on what is demographic data. And you need it. If you don't understand demographic data, you have a ton of blind spots as you navigate the world of business. You need psychographic data because unless you have psychographic data, you don't understand the ideal client. You don't understand their pain points. You don't understand their motivators. You don't understand their drivers, all of it which are blind spots. Another reason why the business is going to fail. But the more you take the time to understand your consumers, the more you take the time to understand your ideal client, the more you're eliminating those blind spots. Next data, geographic data. You know, we have seen that many rising stars in business, you have well-designed products. But guess what? You didn't take the time to understand exactly who is your ideal client, what are their demand needs, what are their urgency and immediacy, and how to find them. So geographic now is telling you exactly where to find the ideal client that has the money to invest in your products and services. And if you don't know where to find the ideal client, it's a blind spot. It's a blind spot. So here is where you're cooking the fanciest food. Let me come down to this level now. You're cooking the best food, the best tasting food the world has ever known. But the people you sell, the people that really want your food, you don't have access to them because you didn't take the time to understand geographical issues and how it plays upon the success of your business. So that becomes a blind spot. So you need data. Let me push a little further here because today we're working to really help you to see blind spots and how to eliminate them. You need to do data analytics. So the first one we talk about there is collecting these data. The second is data analytics. And what does data analytics helps you to know, to understand as you take step to overcome the blind spot? Now, in data analytics, there's a concept that we have coined that we call the MVO. What is the MVO? MVO alignment. MVO in this context means three things. What is your minimum viable offer? What is your most viable offer? Or what is your maximum viable offer? That needs to be aligned. Aligned to what? It needs to be aligned to your MVTM. What is your MVTM? Your minimum viable target market. All right, your most viable target market or your maximum viable target market. But for these two things to align, everything I've just spoke about, you need it. You need data. All right, for you to predetermine Shivani's needs, you need to know that Shivani has a growing organization and she hires five staff every month. So because she's a rapidly growing organization, she hires 5 staff every month. You know that if you are doing training, you can now align those 5 persons from your team to go work with Shivani because you train them the right way to function the right way to optimize performance in the right way. That's exactly what Shivani wants. But if you don't have the data, you don't get to create the alignment. All right. So let's go a step forward as we look at the data analytics. You want to know that the market is a viable market. Again, you're jumping to business. Did you pause for a second to ask yourself, how viable is the market? Or did you simply get into the business because you assume that because everyone else is making money, or you assume they're making money, you should get into business to start making money? So when you do the data analytics, you're looking for this market viability. What are those factors that help you to identify market viability? If you don't know this, again, you have blind spot. What the research is showing again is that many rising stars in business, you have blind spots. That's one of the reasons why you're going to fail. Let's push a little further here. Do you know the market urgency and immediacy? Are you doing this type of data analytics? Because guess what? You might be selling fridge and think that you have the modern, best designed fridge the world has ever known. But guess what? Is it urgent to the consumer? Is it immediate to the consumer because they have fridge in their homes and they're quite comfortable with that? Are you reaching an urgency and immediacy? If it takes 6 months or a year to buy your fridge, are you prepared to wait that long to cash flow optimize, to make a profit, to pay your bills and cover your debts? So you can't just jump into business without understanding all of this, because perhaps you have a whole lot of blind spot, and because you are not the sensei, you're just the first dan, martial arts black belt ninja, but you got 9 more dans to go, and you don't have a sensei. You don't have a sensei to say to you, these are the essential things that you need to look at as you navigate the world of business. So I'm going to pause here because I can go on and on blind spot. I'm going to go over to Frank. Frank, love to hear from you. Did I come to Shivani?
No, my turn now. Yes, my turn now. Yes.
Oh, Shivani. Sorry about that. All to you, Shivani.
Great. Now, I was listening attentively to you, Gary. You mentioned some good points here. I love the term blind spots.
Yeah.
And people need to really understand that. We need to really understand that in whatever area that we are leading. Do we understand the entire ecosystem, as you keep saying? Do you know the ecosystem? So one of my clients, and in our analysis, whatever, it's a simple thing, right? It's very, very simple, but it's a blind spot when you don't know, as you say, right?
Yeah.
The organization, you have all of your middle managers, as I keep saying, right? You have all of the middle managers. Everybody is operating in silos. Nobody understands, or I may understand, but you don't understand. What is the end goal? What is the vision? What is the outcome that we are looking for? Do you understand totally what is the product or what is the service that we are offering? And everybody's supposed to keep that eye on the ball for that. So this is where the ecosystem will come in. Let's say, okay, it is to create a new product or create some wine or coffee or the best coffee in the world, as we say. Everyone, this is what you have to do. Whatever is your job, your role, how is it contributing to that? So over the years, what we have seen is that you give somebody a job, right? And they do not understand totally how they fit in the entire organization. Therefore, all they are doing is just, if they're making one aspect of the coffee, that's all they're doing. They're making one aspect. So you can't see the whole, you can't see the system. You don't understand the whole product or the whole service that you have to provide. So of course you will feel. And you'll have arguments, as I was saying to the client, you will have arguments and discussions around just a little minute thing. But you forget that your whole is a whole ecosystem. So you need to look at it as a whole. People can't only look at it in silos. This is a blind spot totally. We see it in PM, your project itself, that's all you're seeing. You're not looking at the sustainability of the project. So when you don't look at it, all you're doing is just fixing something, and it may not work in the long term, the long run. So this is a major, major, major blind spot, not understanding the entire ecosystem. So middle managers, this is something that we have to do. Top, bottom, everybody, get everybody involved in knowing what we have to achieve. Where are we going, as we see? Do you understand every single aspect of the product? So if you ask me if I'm working in an organization and you ask me about something and I don't know it, that is very, 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 very wrong. You're supposed to know every aspect of the organization. If you don't know, you got to blame leadership. Leadership is not leading it, that you know every single aspect. You have to know. I mean, you may not be the subject matter in every single aspect, but you have to know where to get it, who to go to, what to do. And especially we're talking about human resource. If you know the outcome, if you know what you want to achieve, then you will do effective talent management. Talent management is something that is missing quite a lot. It is a blind spot. And when we do talent management, you are doing talent management in silos. You're not doing talent management to get your outcome, you know? So those are a few points.
Great points, Shivani. Um, what I take away is understanding the project ecosystem, because the more you understand about the whole of the project ecosystem, it helps you to eliminate the blind spot. I also love that you also fill in there that you don't have to be the guru or the walking encyclopedia on all subject matter for the ecosystem, but you need to ensure that you have the right team players within the ecosystem that can help to articulate on that entire ecosystem to eliminate the blind spot. So I've taken away that. A strong boardroom can be a good example where, at the boardroom, you have the best and brightest and sharpest minds that are coming there and really articulating, different views on the particular subject at hand. I would always talk in that boardroom, you need to have the project management specialist too, because they're always documenting ideas, they're always documenting solutions, and they can help you to find timelines. So when you finish talk, it's not just talk shop, but it becomes now time to get the work done because you have the right team dynamics there. So I've taken that away from what you would have said. I'm going to complete a trend of thoughts, and then I'm going to come right back to Frank as it relates to data analytics. Data is vital to removing yourself from blind spots, all right, reducing blind spots in the project. Again, these blind spots can cost you billions of dollars in annual revenue. All right, it's not a $10 and $20. It can cost you billions of dollars in annual revenue. And if you continue to turn a blind eye to it, you're causing the organization by default to hemorrhage financially. Now, on data analytics, I look at a number of things just now. I talk about the alignment of the MVO to the MVTM, look back at the program to understand what MVO and MVTM means. I talk about the market viability. I talk about the market urgency and immediacy. Now, I want to make this point. You see, you may have a blind spot here too, because you may look at the market and you see that there's an urgent need for products and services, and you feel excited about this because people need the product and service. But guess where you have the blind spot? You didn't do the analysis, the data analytics that helps you to see if the clientele base, if they have the ability and the willingness to pay for your MVO, your products and your services. Many persons may need a product or a service, but guess what? They don't have the ability or the willingness to buy. They want someone else to buy. If even they got some disposable income, they're not prepared to invest in it themselves. All right. And I don't want to hit, but some of the things that I would say to rising star in businesses, we can talk to you from today to many years down the road about the importance of visibility. Your business needs visibility, it needs reach, it needs impact, it needs client conversion. And these things that are not going to come at zero budgetary allocation to move your vision forward. You need to make adequate budgetary allocation for visibility, for reach, for impact, for client conversion to build confidence, trust, and credibility in your brand. All right. And you need to have the willingness, the ability to invest in this. If you don't, and you are targeting these consumer base, guess what? You're not going to cash flow because rising stars in business, small businesses, they have those needs. But the big question you want to ask yourself, do they have the ability and the willingness to invest in what it takes to become a giant in business, to do what it takes to become a ninja in business? This may be your blind spot. All right. And if this is your blind spot, it is taking your time, perhaps your resources, it's going to cause you stress in the long run, and you're losing an opportunity to generate billions of dollars in annual revenue because your focus is in the wrong place. So I'm going to pause here for now as we talk about blind spots and leadership. Frank, all to you.
Thank you, buddy. Um, I just want to let you know that there are benefits for overcoming a leadership blind spot. And these benefits, there are many, but I'm just going to give you a few. The first one is you need to improve your decision making. Knowing your blind spot allows you to make more informed decisions, build stronger relationship because it's easy to build trust and rapport when you are more self-aware. It can also cause increase in productivity. So when you eliminate the blind spots, you can efficiently meet those goals that you're working towards. There is also improved morale. Because leaders who demonstrate fairness, leaders who demonstrate understanding, they will have an improved morale and confidence when they lead by example. You will also find with greater success because a successful leader knows the blind spot and they overcome them. So, personally, how can I overcome my leadership blind spot? How do you overcome? Become more aware of your own biases. We all have biases, but recognizing them allows us to avoid letting them cloud our judgment. We need to seek feedback from others in an effort to gain a balanced viewpoint. Continue to seek feedback from colleagues, from the team. Um, you need to challenge your assumptions. Take a step back and challenge your assumptions before you decide. Do you rely on facts or on biases when you have to make a decision? You have to be more open to feedback. Despite not wanting to hear it, be open to feedback from others. Being willing to change. Many leaders can overcome their blind spots and become more effective if they are willing and eager to change. So, those are ways in which leaders can overcome um, any blind spots and the benefits that they have on overcoming blind spots.
All right, thanks for that share, Frank. Um, Great shares. And I really trust that the listening public is finding today's conversation interested. As I raise my eyes to look at the time, I see that time is already upon us. So we'll have to have a part two, part three, and part four of this conversation because if you think that we scratch the surface in terms of the conversation, no, we ain't scratched the surfaces yet. It's a very deep subject matter. But I want to encourage you, the viewers who are here, if you like the content that you're hearing, I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share, so you will be the first to get these content that we're bringing to you on a regular basis. And Frank, I want to just expand on what I was saying early on. Normally, when I talk about data, I speak of data in four contexts. It's the data collection, the data analytics, the data application, and the data mitigation. To eliminate blind spot, you need all four of these things to be working together. I'm going to just spend a little time looking at data application. When is the best time to apply data and how to apply data so as to ensure that you are data driven and you are beyond the blind spot zone? Now, the best time to apply data is when data would have helped you to understand who is the ideal client, what are their needs, wants, and expectation, what are their pain points. And when I talk about applying data, I'm talking about innovating products and services. Do you just innovate a product or do you just innovate a service without taking the time to understand your market size, your market needs, your market pain points, your market density, your market dispersion? What is the best time to innovate products and services? You need data. So before you start to apply, if you want to be successful and remove speculation from as being your blindfold, you need data. So with the right data, it tells you, okay, this is the time to start to innovate products because I have researched my market. There is a sizable market. They have an urgent and immediate need, and they have the ability and the willingness to pay for my products and services. So when you collect this data now in your data analytics, you now apply that data in products and service innovation. So I'm saying to many rising star in business to remove that blind spot, become data driven. And if you need help or when you need help, I encourage you to reach out to our community. We'll be so happy to help you in this process. Now, data mitigation. It's important to recognize that data is changing constantly. All right, your consumer base may change from geography to geography because of natural and man-made disasters. All right, it may change. And you have to ensure that you are sensitive. First of all, you're oriented, you're sensitive, and you can now be responsive to market shifting needs. All right. In the absence again of data, you cannot do all of this. All right. So it's important to focus on this. Now, I'm just going to give a hint here now on what I would have loved to get into. I'm just going to give a hint and then we're going to start to wrap up today's program. And I'm still looking at the first element of the sixth element that you need to understand as you try to eliminate blind spot. I'm still looking at the organization chart. But I'm going to look briefly now at the organization chart of what I call the capital resource specialist. And why I'm going to come here is because of the fact that I'm seeing millions of business startups. You want to access capital to grow and scale your business. You start the business knowing that you need capital, but guess what? You just don't know how to access the capital. Is that a blind spot? Yes, it is. Do you know how to overcome that blind spot? In most cases, you don't know. So in the brief, to overcome this blind spot, I'm going to give you some solution. You need to spend time to understand financial instruments. And by understanding financial instruments, we're talking about you or within your team dynamics, your organization chart. You have someone that understands debt and equity and credit and creative financing and hard money lending. You need this as part of your business ecosystem. If it's not there, blind spot. You need to understand how to access the capital because understanding the instrument doesn't mean you understand how to access. All right. Understanding the instrument, understanding how to access doesn't mean that you know how to leverage. So these three things so far needs to work together. And then last but not least is understanding how to mitigate capital. Now I'm going to say this. There are many rising stars in business who buys a debt and they own that debt for 30 years. Is there a smarter way of managing that debt so as to reduce your debt cost, reduce your debt life cycle, own the equity in the asset, leverage what we call an LBO, leverage a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, or a BLOC, a business equity line of credit, take out the equity and leverage it into other income producing asset. Is that a blind spot for business and the private individual? Yes, there is. So there is so much for us to go into here, but I'm going to end on this point to say that there's so much more to come as we expand our conversation on leaders and blind spot that is causing your business billions of dollars in annual revenue. Shivani, your thoughts, and then your closing remarks, and then we're going to come to Frank. No. Your thoughts, Shivani, before you get to the closing remarks.
Very, very important to understand in projects all aspects, every single piece of the pie. You know, we like to talk about it in terms of product scope and project scope, right? So those are blind spots, right? When you only look at the project and you don't look at the product or the service. So we may just talk about project scope, understanding what the project is all about, ensuring that you get all the resources and you just project managementize it. But who is focusing on the product? This is definitely something that is lacking a lot of times. And you have the resources, but when you analyze it, the project fail. The project fail not because you didn't have the resources this time, but because you did not you give the client a product that is not working. So you did not do a proper product analysis. So both must go hand in hand, understanding project scope and product scope. If not, we having problems. So, as we sit and we talk about all the different aspects, what are some of the blind spots? What is lacking? We can really say what it is. It's to me it's easy. It's a very, very easy thing. However, in reality, it's you're still seeing it, right? So I think in time it's going to change. Knowledge is power, as we say. Knowledge is power. Those are my thoughts so
Oh,
far.
thanks for that share, Shivani. Um, I love that you went into those two areas of project, and perhaps we can expand on this. Tomorrow we're looking at habits. Perhaps we can link habits to some of what we're talking about tomorrow and just expand on some of your talking points here. Frank, oh, Shivani, you're till Wednesday. So Wednesday, perhaps we can go back at some of that. Frank, can I get your thoughts and your closing remarks? You're mute, Frank.
Yeah, yes, Gary. And I just want to close out by reiterating that as a leader, we all have blind spots. And often these vulnerabilities or threats, they will go unnoticed. It can, however, adversely affect our success. And despite the fact that leaders cannot eliminate all blind spots, and the steps, there are steps which we have which have gone over before that can uh, taken to overcome them. And in addition to improving decision making and building strong relationships, achieving the goals, all leaders can mitigate their blind spots, which includes their personality, their experience, or experience can also shape blind spots, the biases, and it goes on like that. So when we need to overcome these blind spots as leaders, we can't go it alone. We can't possess what is called an I know attitude. Sometimes we overestimate our strategic ability. Robert Shaw spoke in that way. Um, do not keep difficult conversations for me. When it comes to difficult conversations, don't shy away from them. Provide. Uh, this may seem innocent enough, but in the long run, it can result in problems that festers and it can become a lack of trust and respect in the team. Poor delegation is another aspect of it. When you want to have excessive control, you're making snap judgments, fear of taking risks. And this one is important, being unprepared for meetings and arriving late. All these are blind spots that can fester and affect success in any organization. Do not focus too much on the present. You have to be creative and innovative and forward thinking. Don't be too self centered. You have to be willing to learn and grow. Any person who is not willing to do that will result in stagnation and a lack of innovation. Right? So, as a leader, you need to become effective. Stay away from those things, those blind spots. And it's good to ask people what are some of the blind spots in CNU. Because let me tell you, there are others out there who will quickly pick up on the blind spots in you because they observe. And that's what your team is for, is to help you to become the best leader you can.
All right, thanks for that share, Frank. Um, Great points. Now, I just want to emphasize Frank is an economist by profession, and he has years of experience also as a lecturer, and he's also a leader in the true sense of leadership. He works from his church and really empowers community in leadership. Shivani is a project management practitioner. Shivani is also a lecturer at one of the top universities in the Caribbean. And she really comes passion filled to really help people to understand project management. And today she has highlighted some of the blind spots that you need to be aware of as you position yourself to lead with your project. With that being said, I'm going to ask Shivani to give us her closing remarks.
Thanks, Gary. Now, everything here that we keep speaking about, it is, I'm keep hearing in my mind something, conscious leadership. Conscious leadership. And, Frank, you said it too. You have to understand, firstly, you have to want to change too. Otherwise, this is not going to work. You also talk about it, Gary, in terms of you're not going to go beyond yourself, right? You're not going to be on. So you have to learn how to do this. And you remember people, especially if you're very egotistical, because you gotta get real. We have egotistical people all around. We ourselves could become very egotistical with our knowledge, Once you know something, and I've seen it in academics all the time, we believe we know. So therefore, we become very egotistical. So when you have to lead, you are telling people this is the way how to do it, right? You are saying this is it. And if you continuously do that, you're gonna see massive failure and breakdown. Right? I don't like to see the massive failure and breakdown, but when I see it, I could tell you why. And at that time, I like when I'm right as well, egotistical as well, right? So conscious leadership. What is conscious? Conscious for me is totally understanding how I will react and understanding emotions and thoughts and feelings, not only of myself, but also everything around me. And leaders, this is how we need to become more of understanding your surroundings, understanding the people, understanding how you will react to something. It is really, it's something that people have to really learn a lot more of. It is a blind spot. It is definitely a blind spot, not knowing your surroundings, not seeing how everything fits. You're not aware of your own existence. So you're not aware of yourself, right? As your word is, you're not aware of yourself and your thoughts and your feelings. So how could you go and lead then? Right? So you've got to start with you as well. You have to start with you. You have to know in conscious leadership, you have to know when to reflect, when to stop, when to just, let go of certain things, when to take time off. Those are blind spots. We got to learn so much more about conscious leadership. It's a whole topic, and it's something that's so interesting to me. So those are my closing points for now.
Good. Shivani, what I want to link to what you just said, and I know that you know this, is conscious leadership. And what you eloquently spoke about a few weeks ago, I think it was last week or the week before, you spoke about emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And conscious leadership is this combining the emotional intelligence into the whole leadership process. I would love to see you do that collage. Perhaps on Wednesday we could explore it some more. But I know you spoke eloquently about that. All right. With that being said, I want to thank the viewers and from across the world who are looking at this program. And you don't want to be a first Dan black belt ninja that don't have your sensei. All right. You need that mentor, you need that coach, you need that sensei to help you to recognize your blind spot. Being a first Dan is only the first Dan. You might be the first Dan in business, but there's 10 different levels that you have to evolve up to really master your craft. And we are here to provide you with that support to help you fill some of those blind spots and so you can win. And everything that we have talked about, we are not just discussing the theory. We all are practitioners in this field. I last spoke about access to capital as a blind spot. We can get you through that blind spot because we have experts on our side that will help you to access debt, equity, credit, creative finance, and hard money lending to move your business forward. All right. So we have the expertise to get you past that blind spots or those blind spots within the shortest possible time. And in doing business, you don't want to procrastinate in that blind spot zone. You want to be proactive. All right. And being proactive means that you take an informed action to achieve desired results. In fact, proactive leaders to do three things: they think ahead, they see beyond problems, and they take informed action to achieve desired results. You now owe it to yourself to connect with us to be able to take informed action to achieve your business objective. With that being said, I want to wish you all the best for this week, Monday, and just go out there and do your best. Overcome those blind spots. Reach out to us. Have a great week ahead of you. To my team, I want to thank you for being here today. You could have been doing anything else, but you are here committing to give service to humanity, to educate business leaders on smart ways, better ways in doing things, so those blind spots don't prevent their business from optimizing billions of dollars in cash flow. So I want to thank you, and I want to wish you to an awesome weekend, an awesome week ahead of you.